All right, hello there, everybody. This is the News Project Live, coming to you on GNAT-TV's Facebook page. I'm Andrew McKeever, the news director at GNAT-TV's News Project, and it's a pleasure to be with you again on Friday, February 26th. Another beautiful day out there. Spring is only, about 3 weeks away, so there's hope, right? Certainly, it's been one of those long and cold, classic New England winters. Anyway, on to some of our top stories of this week that we've been following, and I guess I just wanted to start off though by just mentioning that if you want to get some further information about some of the stories I'm commenting on, you can go to the comments section, and there might be a link to another news story about the same subject, or some further information that might be worth checking out. So just wanted to mention that before I got too far into this. So anyway, um, town meetings, of course, now right around the corner. A couple of the informational meetings have already happened. We're going to talk about those in a moment. But basically, coming up tomorrow, Manchester will be having its information meeting Saturday the 27th, starting at 1 p.m. You can zoom into that one and listen in, take part. Um, as usual, there'll be a couple of interesting items on the agenda, the rail trail being one that will be probably providing a little discussion. Um, and then on Monday, March 1st, several other towns are holding their information meetings. Arlington, Dorset, Peru, Landgrove, and Rupert among them. Uh, and of course, all the towns will be following that up with voting on Tuesday, this March 2nd. Although, of course, voting is already underway. You've probably already gotten your ballots in the mail. You can drop them off at your town hall or bring them with you on Tuesday and hand them to the town clerk or who's ever supervising the elections. Or you can vote in person, the old-fashioned way. Um, anyway, like I said, you have until Tuesday the 2nd to take care of that. Up in Danby, looks like they'll be doing everything on the 2nd. There won't be necessarily a floor meeting as there typically would have been, but folks will be able to come in and vote. And one of the interesting articles on the warning there is one that would allow for cannabis sales to begin in Danby, or rather that licenses for retailers that process could be started. That's uh, likely to be a long and uh, involved process for a lot of folks, but the article basically asks voters of Danby if they're okay with allowing the operation of cannabis retailers or integrated licensees. That would be people who might be engaged in related acts like cultivating them or being a wholesaler or product manufacturer or a testing laboratory. Um, so that'll be interesting to see what the outcome of that vote will be. Paulet is also having a similar article on its warning um, as well. So there'll be the two towns in our areas that'll be testing the waters in that one. A little bit farther south of us, in Pownell and Bennington, are also going to be voting on the same question. Um, State regulators may not begin issuing those cannabis licenses for a while. Could be as well in the next year, actually. But it is taking that next step then towards making legal sales of cannabis a reality. And speaking of Paulet, I guess I just wanted to mention they have an interesting select board race going on up there. The Manchester Journal is reporting in one of its stories in this week's paper that there'll be 7 candidates in play altogether to fill 3 seats on the select board, on only one incumbent among them. That would be John Malcolm, is running for re-election for one of those seats. He's currently the vice chairman. He's running for one of the one-year seats, along with Daniel Banyai, Rich Hewlett, Martin Kravitz, Estella Leach, and Jessica Van Oort. And four of those candidates, including Mr. Banyai, we're going to talk about him in a moment, are also running for the 3-year seat, and so is Maureen Brown, who is also seeking one of the 3-year terms. So obviously what makes this election of somewhat broader interest is the presence of Mr. Banyai in the race. He's the owner of Slate Ridge. It's a gun range or a training camp that has created a certain amount of controversy in the town. And earlier this week became national news when the New York Times had a story about the Slate Ridge facility that has created some controversy in the town. As many of you know, for the past couple of months, there have been news stories coming out about it. There's been some concerns about neighbors being threatened on social media. And the entire facility never really got a proper zoning permit from the town of Paulet, and it's now involved in court litigation around that. So that is yet to be resolved, and it's become quite a story. We've been following it fairly closely. So it will be interesting to see what the voters decide to do in terms of who they want on their select board, given that whole situation. And meanwhile, the Taconic and Green Regional School District held its information meeting this past Tuesday, the 23rd of February. It was online, of course, as all of them will be. Had about nearly 50 attendees altogether who reviewed the articles that voters, again, by March 2nd will make decisions on when you go to vote for your town budgets and your town select board members and other elections that might be in play. You'll also have a chance to vote on the Taconic and Green School District's proposed budget, and also on the proposed tuition rate for Burn Academy. Those were the two items that generated the most amount of discussion at the information meeting on Tuesday. But those listening also got to hear from school officials about taxes and a lot of questions about how the budget is formulated and how state tax rates are impacted by local factors like common level of appraisal and that sort of thing. So you can still watch that meeting if you wish. You can go to the brsu.org website, and I'm sure you'll find a copy of the recording there. It's actually quite an interesting meeting. So Town of Sunderland also had its information meeting on Monday the 22nd, and voters will be going to the polls there to elect a couple of select board members and a few other town offices and vote on the town budget as well. And you can also watch a copy of that, by the way, on GNAT-TV's website. We have a space where those information meetings will be preserved, and also we'll be live streaming a couple of them as well coming up. So if you want to go to the website, see if your town is one of the ones that will have a live stream, you might find that of interest. Okay, so moving on, back to the COVID front here. Big news is that starting Monday, March 1st, folks who are 65 and older are now eligible for vaccines. Up until this week, that was the lowest age group was the 70-year-olds and older. So that's changing now. You can actually go ahead and make an appointment if you're going to be turning 70 by then. I'm just hesitating here because I want to make sure I get this correctly here, because there's also Walgreens, which is part of the federal distribution of vaccines, is also opening its facilities up to vaccinations for Vermonters 65 and older today. If you so I got the memo and went ahead and made an appointment. You can get vaccinated today if you're 65 and older, as well as, of course, next week and further on out. Um, um, there were some delays that Walgreens was having based around their supplies, but now they've clarified that. And if you really want to get that vaccination first dose anyway, as soon as possible, that might be one alternative. Otherwise, wait for Monday and make an appointment at one of the state-run clinics. All of this information is on the state's Department of Health website. You can set up your account if you haven't done that already. You find the links to make the appointment. Process is actually fairly simple. So anyway, that is marching. That whole process is marching on. And the other big announcement that came out earlier this week was that was surrounded new travel and gathering guidance for fully vaccinated people. Under Vermont's updated guidance, people who are fully vaccinated may now gather with one another, one household at a time. And people who are fully vaccinated may also travel to Vermont and return from out of state without quarantine restrictions. And fully vaccinated, that means 14 days have passed since your final dose. So another kind of wait 2 weeks before that kicks in. But anyway, certainly encouraging news that the vaccination process is starting to kind of lighten the restrictions around which we've all been struggling with these past many months. The glimmer of life returning sort of to normal is beginning to flicker a little more brightly there. In terms of the COVID numbers, for the most current updated figures, as of yesterday, 66 new cases were reported, so that's continuing a bit of a downward trend since over the last couple of weeks. We have 28 Vermonters in a hospital with COVID-related cases, 11 in an ICU, and that brings us also, sadly, the total deaths are now at 203 since last March. At the governor's press conference today, he talked a lot about, or the main focus of the discussion was around getting schools reopened as we begin to make more headway through vaccination and just sort of a steady downward trend in the number of cases. Governor and a couple of other state officials spoke at length about the impact of the whole COVID pandemic and the school closures and hybrid learning have had on kids. Mental health issues have been a big problem, and all are eager to see a return to full in-person 5 days a week schooling, hopefully at some point in April. If not, certainly before the end of the school year is what the goal is. Right now, about 30% of the schools in Vermont are doing fully in-person learning. About 50% are doing a hybrid mix of in-person and remote, and the remaining 20% are basically fully remote at this time. But Governor and also Sarah Squirrel, who's a commissioner of Department of Mental Health, spoke at length about how how kids are struggling with anxiety and other issues around the fact that their whole school experience has been so truncated by the online learning and hybrid learning, that is something they are very well aware of and want to do what they can to reopen schools as quickly as possible, as long as they can do that safely. Of course, the question of how does that involve teachers getting vaccinated also came up. Several questions were asked by the press corps in attendance about this, and both the governor and Secretary of Education Dan French said this is a subject that's under fairly steady evaluation. It kind of depends a lot on the on the supply of the vaccines. Governor said the priority and the data still showed that the best use of the vaccines was to administer them to the folks who were in the most vulnerable categories, which includes older Vermonters. But again, they were well aware of the importance of getting schools reopened, and having teachers vaccinated would certainly be a part of that. All right, I guess that'll do it for today. I want to thank you all for being with us. Hope you've enjoyed our little program. I'm Andrew McKeever, the news director at GNAT-TV's News Project. You can find out a lot of the other stories of what we're covering if you go to our website, gnat-tv.org. All the recent videos we've been working on are posted there, and hope you have a nice weekend. It looks like it's going to be a good one. All right, take care and stay safe.